it's Daniel from Lemonade.
Lemonade has reinvented insurance from the ground up. When you buy insurance today, you're dealing with a broker. And somebody might come to your house or work with you on the phone, and you've got to fill out a gazillion questions, half of which you don't know the answer to. And that's the easy part, because that's the part where they're taking your money. Try and get paid. That's when the real paperwork begins and the bureaucracy begins. People today don't believe that they're going to get paid. It's not that the insurance company doesn't have enough money to pay them, obviously they do, but they haven't got the motivation to pay them. So they throw paperwork at you and assessors at you, and you just feel like, oh, to hell with it, I'll just suffer the loss myself. And people don't believe in the system, that the faith in the system has become so eroded. And as founders, we were looking at this sector, finding that, about which we knew nothing, finding a sector that is huge, affects just about all of humanity, trillions of dollars, and entirely unspoiled by innovation. But we don't believe that you can take a 100-year-old edifice and add a cool tech on top and think that you're going to solve any fundamental problems. You'll just put lipstick on a pig. So we thought we could do this differently. We thought tech companies wouldn't work that way. You take a flat fee. We take 20%. So you pay us whatever you pay us for your homeowner's insurance or your renter's insurance. We take 20% of that. If you pay us $100, 20 are ours. The rest is not our money. And we'll use that money to pay claims. But if there's money left over, we're going to give it to a charity of your choosing. A lot of what we're trying to do is to change the whole fundamental psychological, behavioral kind of mode of insurance and make it less conflicted, more aligned, more transparent. And then layer on top of that technology. So once you've got a trusting relationship, do we really need brokers? Why can't you do it on a chat-based interface through an app? If you've spent more than 90 seconds buying insurance on Lemonade, you're doing something wrong. And we pay claims in as little as 3 seconds. Literally, you enter into the app what's happened, you press submit, and the algorithms review your claim. If appropriate, will approve your claim, will pay your claim, and will notify you of all of that in seconds, instead of the kind of 3 months that you would anticipate with traditional insurance carriers. Since our launch in September, Lemonade has become one of the fastest growing insurance brands in the nation. And in New York, where we launched first, and now we're expanding to other states, we're becoming one of the most popular, if not the most popular brand amongst first-time insurance customers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Schreiber from Lemonade. Hi. Now, was it Schreiber or Schreiber? I forgot to ask.
Schreiber.
Schreiber.
Yeah.
I just about got it. Daniel, now, obviously you've been in tech before, obviously. It's quite a contrast with my last interlocutor. You were actually president of PowerMat, the wireless charging technology, and then you left that and you were looking around for something to do, but your next thing, I presume. But it's quite a difference between going wireless charging technology and insurance. What on earth was the journey between those two places?
Yeah, so founders often have a story about some searing experience that kind of got him.
Was it a road to Damascus experience?
So no.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say I actually did have a terrible insurance experience, but it happened to me after we founded Lemonade, so the chronology doesn't work really well. No, I was scouting to do something new. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something big and meaningful. Mm. And insurance was not high on the list at all. So I was going through different sectors. I was looking at bioinformatics and AI diagnostics and all that kind of stuff. And I was in a lecture at Singularity University, and Peter Diamandis, who started Singularity University, threw out into the air something about peer-to-peer insurance in answer to some question. It was a throwaway comment. But I was primed to look for some new idea. And I started looking into insurance, and I found that this is a sector that I hadn't thought about, but is huge, is entirely unspoiled by innovation. Nobody's done anything in the sector for 100 years, and is unloved. And as an entrepreneur, finding those three, big, unchanged, and unloved, is kind of the holy trinity. It's something that you seek.
It's also kind of a big fat whale waiting to be harpooned by an entrepreneur, perhaps.
Exactly, and then
if I can use that weird analogy.
I follow it. It's okay. It works. So I joined forces with Shai Wininger, my co-founder. We started thinking about how would we do this? What would we do with insurance? Right. And the big advantage is that neither of us know anything about the sector whatsoever. And rather than go off and learn about insurance, we decided to celebrate our ignorance. And we just locked ourselves in a room and started whiteboarding how we think it could work using our high school probability theory and experience in the sharing economy and technology.
Was it exciting sort of going back to those days when you're just starting out on an idea, as you say, locking yourself away and whiteboarding ideas?
Love it. It's absolutely fabulous. And you have no idea whether what you're doing is credible, is doable, legal. In a sector like insurance, there's a ton of regulation. There's deep expertise that's needed to make sure that the numbers all work. So it really was whiteboarding or blue ocean or whatever metaphor you want. And the punchline is that after we decided that we're going to go on Lemonade, I reached out to Peter and I said to him, hey, we're doing this peer-to-peer thing you were talking about. And he said, oh, that's not what I meant at all. And he meant something totally different in DNA sequencing, something. So the whole genesis was a big mistake.
Oh, right. That's often the case, that it's an accidental journey that takes you there. Do you think you would have had the same idea if you hadn't gone to Singularity University? Or is that just something that was by and by?
It was a trigger. I'm not sure. You need something to trigger you sometimes.
You need to get yourself out of your comfort zone and go and learn something new or whatever.
You do, and I think that one of the reasons that we've been able to rethink insurance is because we had no preconceived notions about it. I think it's very hard within a domain that you've grown up in to really reconceptualize it in a fundamental way. And I talk about us celebrating or kind of squeezing our ignorance for all it's worth, and I mean it. The fact that Shai and I had a blank board and only the most rudimentary understanding of insurance allowed us to think about it from first principles. Try to understand what are the conflicts of interest that underpin the whole sector, why is it so unloved, go back to really first principles and think about it from scratch, which I doubt we'd have been able to do if we were brought up in the industry.
Do you think it's the sort of thing you would try again if you wanted to do another thing in the future? Do you think it's something that you would recommend to other people as a way of getting yourself into a new place?
I do. I do. One of the things that we found ourselves thinking about within insurance is, or I say I do, but with a caveat, and here's the caveat.
Right.
If you think you're going to be able to do stuff 10% better than the next guy, and in a sector which is multiple trillions of dollars, 10% is a lot of dollars, you'll fail. There's really no way for an outsider to beat the incumbents at their own game.
Right.
I know you've got Kasparov here, but I always have been saying this for years. If you want to beat Kasparov, you challenge him to a game that isn't chess. So I think we were going to try and do insurance the same way that the other guys do it, but we just had a twist that wouldn't have worked. Really, to rethink things from scratch, you have to aim at a 10x improvement. You look at something like insurance, there's a 30% of every dollar goes on expenses. How do you collapse that tenfold? How do you make payments of claims 10 times faster? And those things drive you to think about stuff from first principles, and then you have a chance in hell. But if you're just trying to do the same, play the same game, but play it better, I think there's really no chance at all.
What do you like as a boss? You were inside quite a big company at one point, and I presume this company isn't quite as big as the previous one is. What sort of, do you have a methodology of thinking, an approach to being the leader of your company?
So I became an entrepreneur fairly early, 20 years ago actually. I'm a recovering attorney, but I was a lawyer for like 1 year before I threw it in and became a startup guy back in '97. And in those days, having zero experience and being in your 20s was perfect credentials for getting a lot of money from VCs and starting a startup. It was the heyday.
Great fun.
But what it didn't give me was any kind of experience. So I was starting a company and I was surrounded by people who had been VPs at Oracle and Apple and these kind of places. And the only way that I could succeed 20 years ago was by not trying to substitute my own expertise for those of my team. And I did develop a methodology, if you like, or an approach, which is very trusting, and which says you've got to hire the right people, but when you've managed to do that, my job is to give true north and to remove obstacles, but never to try and step into their shoes and do their job better than them. And that stayed with me. Then I didn't have any choice in the matter because I didn't know what I was doing, but it's really stayed with me as a philosophy of management, which is never try and hire somebody that I think I can do a better job than they can at what they're doing.
That's a road to ruin, would you say? A big mistake.
What is?
In terms of hiring someone and thinking you can still do their job better.
There's many styles of management. I don't want to speak for everybody else, but for me that doesn't work.
And true north for you is setting the goal that's on the top of the hill, as it were.
I think so. I think it's in any startup, any company, but particularly what we're finding with Lemonade is it's very multidisciplinary because we've got insurance execs, we've got behavioral economists, we've got technology people, and trying to get that to kind of sing as an orchestra, to be a conductor or to provide true north. That's really what my role is limited to, is trying to be that focal point and coordinator of the different functions.
What happens when someone vehemently disagrees with your vision of what true north is? What do you do with them?
I haven't had any vehement disagreement. Shai and I have been working really from the get-go in a fairly harmonious way around this. And I think that so far it's working pretty well.
Does that mean you don't hire people who disagree with you?
Well, vehement disagreement with a core vision is a problem.
They won't get through the front door in the first place. So.
Yeah, I think you have to buy into the core vision. There has to be a common understanding of the vision.
Yeah.
People vehemently disagree with me on the tactics and stuff like that, and we have a process for resolving those kind of things. But I think we have to have a shared vision. Wouldn't you agree?
I suppose so.
Okay.
That might be useful. You've obviously, you're experienced, you've been in the industry for a while. How do you use all that knowledge and that experience to your advantage? Apart from in the obvious manner, are there any particular edges that you think you've got?
I do, well, I'll tell you, in Lemonade, both Shai and I have been doing this for a while, for 20 years. And in choosing to do this, the fact that we had a particular kind of background played a major role. So had we just gone and done another social app or something like that, we'd be competing against all the 20-somethings who may be better at it, faster, quicker, more connected with that kind of vibe. In taking on insurance and creating an insurance company, not just a broker or a front end, but actually a regulated insurance company built from the ground up, we have to work with major fundraising efforts. You know, our initial round was the largest seed round Sequoia had ever done. Then you want to attract people. We've got the former president of product at AIG and the chief underwriting officer from Liberty Mutual. You've got to bring these kind of people together, Professor Dan Ariely on behavioral economics. And then you've got to meet in front of regulators and be able to pass muster with them about this harebrained idea. That's something that we're playing in a slightly more rarefied space where if you haven't got 20 years under your belt, it's unlikely that you'll be able to raise that kind of money or attract that kind of talent. So both Shai and I were thoughtful about choosing a sector which plays to our relative strengths rather than going headstrong into something where the competition would be much more fierce. And indeed, you can count on a couple of fingers the number of startups that have gone the route of becoming an insurance company, probably for that reason.
Are you, well, then again, having said all that, I presume you still do it, actually, deep down, regret not launching the social app for millennials. You're using AI a lot in your company. There's a lot, and I know you have children. How do you view the future of society where AI and robotics come in this perfect storm and take all of these jobs away? Do you feel you're contributing to that Armageddon of jobs?
Wow. It preoccupies me. I have 3 boys, and I do wonder what skills should they be gaining now during their childhood.
Well, what skills should they get?
Which will serve them well 30 years from now.
Yeah.
I think it's a profound question.
Certainly they won't be working in a call center for an insurance company.
No, or insurance brokers.
Probably just as well.
Yeah, so there are the optimists. I mentioned Singularity University, so Ray Kurzweil talks about this a great deal.
Yeah.
And really the schooling that I acquired through him is an optimistic one, which says, look, 100 years ago, 70% of people were farmers. Today, 2% are. Had you gone to somebody back in the 19th century and said to them, oh, 70% of the jobs are going to disappear, that would say, woe to me, but of course we've created other jobs and employment in America is pretty much full employment. I'd like to believe that there is an equivalent happening, but the counter story is also there, which is the Industrial Revolution got rid of our brawn and we found refuge in our brain. Now if we displace our brain, where's the refuge going to come from? I don't have a pat answer for that one.
But you'll tell us, you'll get back to me.
Yeah, backstage afterwards.
Because I kind of need that. I mean, you mentioned that you've got kids and everything. I mean, how are you juggling that with family life? And are you 24-hour entrepreneur kind of thing, always on your email? Or, I mean, what do you do? How do you juggle it?
It's a challenge.
I mean, it is a startup, right?
It is a startup. It is a startup. It is a challenge. I try to comfort myself and remind myself that the guys who stayed in the law firm that I was at are also working from morning till night. So you don't only find startups kind of lifestyle doing that. But I'll tell you something.
You're not making the kids eat ramen noodle or anything, just to get that culture.
No, it helps me that my kids are a little bit older.
Right.
So my youngest is 14, and I've got a phenomenal wife who's incredibly supportive. And frankly, if you're in this with family, it's a family affair. So my kids, my wife, they're all involved in Lemonade. It's something that we all follow the numbers closely. We talk about it. They're heavily, oh yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. This is something, so I feel tremendously supported, and the family is very involved.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my catch-all question is now, right, we've left Disrupt and we're sitting in a bar on the Lower East Side or somewhere. I'm nursing my second double gin and tonic, Hendrix, thank you. And you are nursing what? What are you drinking?
Just a beer.
Just a beer, okay. Yeah. Any particular brand? Lager or ale?
Stella Artois.
Stella Artois.
Is that okay?
Very popular in where we're from, in the UK. And I'm at my lowest ebb, or one of the many low ebbs I go through periodically. What do you say to me to get me to buck up my ideas and go out into the world and do something proper?
Oh, I heard you asking that question before, and I was saying to myself, I hope he doesn't ask me that question.
Yes.
Honestly, I wouldn't presume to be able to save you from that particular predicament. I'm not sure that I can pull you out. I think,
no? You got nothing for me?
Sorry, mate.
Oh, okay. This is British British satire, I think, at its best. Well, anyway, I'll have to nurse my drink then for longer. But Daniel Schreiber, lovely to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you all.
Cheers.